So we have Dr. Vaishali Balajiwale with us here today. She is a journalist and belongs to the Balajiwale family, which owns and manages the Balaji temple along the Godavari Ghats. As a journalist, she has covered the last three Kumbh Melas and has extensively written about various ecological and cultural issues of the Godavari. So my first question to you is that you have lived along the banks of the Godavari and covered the river as a journalist as well. I want to talk to you about both the aspects. In an interview with Sahapedia, you had mentioned that Godavari is an emotional aspect for you. It carries a lot of nostalgia and now pain. So, when you think of the Godavari from your childhood, are there particular sights, sounds, routines that return to you even today?
Yes. Namaskar. I'm happy to be answering your questions, and particularly because they relate to Godavari, and as you already said that it's a very emotional aspect for me. As a Nashikkar, we are here because of the Godavari, and we cannot deny the role and existence of Godavari in the overall being, growth and progress of the city. So, when you said that what reminds me of Godavari are a number of things. Like you already mentioned, I grew up on the banks of Godavari. We are just along the bank. So I see the river every day. It's not a river, it's a lifeline, like I said. And I have seen the transitions that this river has gone through. When we talk about a river essentially has an ecology, an ecosystem, a biodiversity. And apart from that, it has its own culture, it has its own social contributions, and it has its own life and a life around it. So I see a transition in all these phases. So when we were young, our childhood has been spent playing in the waters of Godavari. So our day used to start when our parents took us to the banks and threw us into the Ramkund and just asked us to learn swimming. So if you talk to a couple of kids here who have grown along the bank, all of them would tell you the same experience that where did we learn swimming? It was in the Ramkund.
Right.
So it was that natural for all of us. Then in the evenings, where would you go and play? We would go and play on the banks of Godavari. There were fairs, there were jatras, and as you know, there are a lot of temples along the banks. So every temple had some or the other occasion to celebrate, and all the celebrations were on the ghats of Godavari. So we remember our grandfather giving us 2 rupees or 5 rupees to go to the fair and buy a toy of our choice. The toys used to be made up of mud. So it either used to be a parrot or a doll, and that was a prized possession. And we used to look forward to these fairs because they would give you a lot of sweets and a lot of toys to play with. Apart from that, there were these merry-go-rounds and the kulfi wala and the bhel wala. So the life essentially revolved around the river itself because, like I said, it has its own ecosystem. And when I say the ecosystem, it's not only the water, the nature, the biodiversity, it is the lives of people around it. That forms the whole ecosystem. Many of us in Nashik have a livelihood because of the river. Either they are sellers along the banks, they are pandits, purohits, they are guides, they are rickshaw drivers, they are bus drivers. Then there are people who are selling flowers, diyas, n number of shopkeepers. And not only along this river, but today, if you see in today's context, people come to Nashik because it's a pilgrim place. That's the first identity our city has. And the hotels which have grown up in the city, whether they are 5-star, 7-star hotels, all of them, I'm sure they have visitors who come to the Ramkund, who come to the Godavari, or who go to Trambakeshwar where the Godavari originates. So the whole ecosystem of this place of Nashik revolves around the river. And when I say that the site is painful today, that is because I think I use a very harsh word, but that is it, that we have very bluntly and blatantly abused the river, which we should not have. We are still doing it, and I hope that it stops someday.
Yeah. As a journalist, as you've grown up and your concerns have also revolved around the river, you have seen the riverscape and ghats change, as you just mentioned. And these aspects, how have you tried to write about them or deal with them as a professional when it comes to the city?
Yeah. See, there are two ways in which I have tried to work for the river. One is in my own personal capacity, and the other is as a journalist. As a journalist, in whichever news media I was working, I have always raised the questions about Godavari, whether it was the concretization of the bed, or whether it was the release of the waste sewage water in the river, or whether it was the planktons that were growing in the river. Then we had this usage of the river where people used to wash clothes and their vehicles, and all the soap water and chemical water used to get mixed with the river. So we have reported this, and we have had a lot of attention drawn off the government or the authorities to that question. Secondly, while I was working with Deshdoot few years back, so I started a program in Deshdoot which was based on Godavari, and that was essentially an awareness of Godavari, where every month we used to go to one school and educate the students on what Godavari is. So I said, you see the Godavari, but you don't have the awareness, what a river is, what the river system does, what is the biodiversity, what is BOD, when we say that the BOD should not be beyond this and this level. So what is that? Why do children need to be aware of this river, where it originates, how do the dams work? So all this information, and we took experts with us, and we continued this program for over 1.5 years, and we went to all the schools with experts who had a conversation, a dialogue with the children, enabling them the understanding of the river Godavari. And I felt that was more important, because unless the children understand, how would they know what to do about the river?
Right.
And the other program which I had also during the Kumbh Mela, I have covered the Kumbh Melas. I have covered 3 Kumbh Melas of Nashik and 1 of Ujjain. So that was again talking about the river more, and why people come here, why people come uninvited, so many of them along the river. The other part which I worked personally was I conducted a program, and I still do. I do river walks and heritage tours of the city in my personal capacity. And this was in 2000 when a girl asked me, she was a girl of some 20-21 years age, and she asked me, Auntie, Nadi hai kya Nasik mein? And that question startled me, and I asked her, dear one, you live in the city for so long, what have you seen? And she said, no, I have not seen anything beyond CDS. And that kept me intriguing very much. See, we are very eager to throw the responsibility of the city on the next generation. But I realized that the next generation doesn't know the city. So then it is our responsibility to strengthen their shoulders. So I started a program called as Chala Nashik Baguya. It was a 4-day program. My sister-in-law Vaishali Balajiwale, she was with me in this program. And we took the children all along on 4 days on 4 different areas of Nashik. And the last day was essentially about the river. And this program got so popular that we had 50 children participating. We had all experts coming by themselves, wanting to have a dialogue with the children. We used to take our friends like Mohan Upasni, who was a flutist, and he would, play the flute along the river, and it used to be marvelous. Like what we had experienced during our childhood, we tried to recreate for the children, and then get them close to the river, get their sentiments involved with the river, and tell them that if we don't take care of the river, we are not going to exist anymore. Nashik is meaningless if river Godavari is not there.
Right.
So this important message had to be given to the children, and so I do this Chala Nashik Baguya walks and the heritage walks. Chala Nashik Baguya, of course, is my contribution to the city, so it is voluntary. There's no charge for it. But when elders come up and tell me and they say ki we don't know where the Gandhi Jyot is and where is the Ramkund, then I am a little upset about it, so I charge them to know that.
Right. Yeah, like you mentioned, I also found it interesting how you designed your camp.
Yeah.
Spoke about history, public institution, trees, and
Yeah.
Godavari, and so from that I would like to ask that: do you notice certain shifts in people or children and the ways in which they begin to now see or relate with the city? Like, are there moments or stories that stay with you? Like
Yeah,
you mentioned
definitely,
about the
definitely.
mayor and everything.
Yeah, the shift has been there. The program does work, and all programs, not only me.
Yes.
Whoever is working with Godavari, there are so many people who are working, and they have made an impact. Rather, because there are activists. I'm not an activist, but they are the activists who are actually working for the survival of Godavari, and we must salute their efforts because they are fighting this war. They are struggling, and therefore we are able to preserve whatever little we can of. You know the names, I need not take the names. There's Devang Bhai, there is Rajesh Pandit, and there is Nishikant Pagari, and all these people. There is Mrs. Baste, Prajakta Baste. So they have been actually contributing by going to the courts and drawing the attention of the legal systems towards this river. And I'm sure it makes an impact. It does make an impact. We see a lot of children now that they are aware about Godavari. I said we went to schools and we talked about the river and we showed them a lot of photographs, then the reactions which come up speak for themselves. So you understand and you realize that something has gone into them. At least the sense that this is a river we need to protect. Even if this much is done, I think we have achieved a lot. So that shift has been there. Children are more aware. I'm sure as when they grow up to be the adult citizens, the perspective will surely change. And like I said, there is a legal battle which is going on. So we have been able to, thanks to this legal battle, that some things are not allowed, like washing of clothes and washing of vehicles is totally banned. It is not allowed in the river. Or throwing of things. There are people, who are guardians of the river, who stand on bridges and who just, persuade people not to throw things into the river. So there are many. I will fall short of the list if I start taking names of people who are actually protecting the river. There are many known and unknown people who are doing so, and I'm very hopeful that this will bring about a change.
Right. You mentioned that you've covered 3 kumbhs, one in Ujjain and the previous 2 in Nasik.
No, 3 in Nashik and 1 in
Okay,
Ujjain.
3 in Nasik and 1 in Ujjain. Okay. So, what differences do you observe in how people perceive the event earlier and how it has changed today?
See, when I first covered it, it was in 1991. And that time, of course, there were all these akhadas coming. I was just a newcomer into journalism, and I was very, very curious about what is Kumbh and how it goes and all that. Though I had seen in my childhood, I had seen the Kumbh. But this was the time when I was consciously approaching it. So we made an effort to understand the processes of the Kumbh, the setup of the Kumbh, the akhadas, what is the Shaiva akhada, what is the Vaishnava akhada, how the bifurcation takes place, and all this. So it was a very conscious effort to understand the whole concept of Kumbh. And even then and even now, what intrigues me most is how people are drawn to this event. It's an event of a sort. It's a religious event, it's a spiritual event, it's a cultural event, it's a social event. So how people are drawn in such large numbers. And as you see that with the evolution of the social media, what we last saw in Allahabad, Prayag, I'm sure that this year's Kumbh in Nashik is going to be on a different scale. That is what everybody is expecting, and that is how preparations are being done. But I see 2 different aspects of this. Why people are drawn? Initially, you have to understand that what was Kumbh? It was a Dharma Parishad. And what is a Dharma Parishad? What I have tried to understand of it, my understanding could be limited. But Dharma Parishad was a parishad, it was a conference where those caretakers of the group, you call it dharma, you call it religion, you call it society, So the caretakers of the society or the leaders of the society would tell people with the changing phases or the evolutionary changes of how the life should be lived. That is as simple as I think I can draw from what a Dharma Parishad is today. Initially, it was a congregation of people who came with faith, who came with philosophy, and now I think people come because of fear. I don't know, as a psychologist I feel that.
Okay.
And it's a herd mentality, like everybody is going to the Kumbh, so
Right.
I want to go to the Kumbh. And then I want to have a holy dip and whatever sins I have done, because we are so sinful, everybody commits sins every now and then. So whatever sins I have done, probably they could be washed off. That's a faith. I don't question the faith. I'm not here to challenge the faith. But they come with that faith. And sometimes the faith keeps you rooted also. That is also important. But I expect that people come with a conscious mind. I hope, rather than expect, I hope that people come with a conscious mind and they be a part of this, one of its kind celebration. It's a celebration of the river for me. And they try to show their respect to that river, whether it is the akhadas, it is the common public, it is the government entities, it is the locals, it is the purohits, it is the people who are coming from, all over the country or even outside the country. And all of them try to preserve the heritage. All of them try to conserve the traditions, because I believe that every tradition has some scientific base into it. So if they understand that, then it is easier to follow the traditions without letting it, get diverted into so many fear aspects. So if you keep rooted to the tradition in its most scientific manner, then I think it will serve its purpose. And I just hope that people come and they carry a message that the nature is to be revered and protected. Whether it is the trees, whether it is the water, whether it is the river, because after all, we are 5 elements. And these 5 elements signify the Kumbh Mela. And these 5 elements, if they are in line with your living, then I think the whole revolution will be very smooth.
Right. Like you mentioned that the people of Nasik have always, their sustenance has revolved around the river. So one gets to read about how much economic gain locals have received because of, say, Kumbh that happens in Prayag. Do you think that is the case in Nasik?
That's the case in every Kumbh.
Do you think people benefit from this, or do they have to?
Definitely. Because you see, like I said, Kumbh Mela has lot aspects, and one of them is surely economic. We can't deny that. Economy is part of your daily living. So the economy that Kumbh Mela brings in, it brings in a large scale.
Yeah.
When large number of people come in, obviously it gets manifold. There are financial transactions. There are opportunities for employment. There are opportunities for businesses. There are opportunities for exchanges. There is the economics of the people as pilgrims. There is economics of the city which hosts it, and there is economics of the government which brings about all of this together. So undeniably there is an economic aspect to it, and people do benefit. I may not say that all the people of Nashik will benefit, but I would like to believe that all the business community, the trading community, hoteliers, small vendors, fruit walas and vada pav walas, and I'm sure, and they should, why not they?
Yeah.
They're working hard to feed the whole public they are coming in, and they should benefit.
Yeah. But is there a sense of, do people still see Kumbh in the same way, or is there a feeling that this has gone way beyond the city is able to accommodate? Do you sense that, or is it?
See, we should be in line with what is happening today. Earlier the city was small, the population was less. Now the city is growing, the population is growing. Now you have suburbs. Earlier you never heard of suburbs in Nashik. There are 7 gateways to Nashik, and all the 7s have been spread wide across everywhere. So you can't deny that the city is growing and so is the population. You can't deny that there will be large number of people coming in. The influx of I will say people, I don't know how many of them are devotees and how many of them are pilgrims and how many of them are tourists or how many of them are visitors. But a large influx of people will be there coming into the city. And I'm sure if you look at the expanse of the city today, they can be accommodated. If we plan it properly, if we involve a lot of people into all this, if we involve the local Nashikers into all this, then there will be opportunities for everyone, and we can assure that the flow of people which are going to come in, they can be accommodated. But for that, the government, which is the main stakeholder into this, who is the organizer of this Kumbh Mela, so they, along with all the other stakeholders, that they have planned it properly. I would like to believe that for this Kumbh Mela they have planned it.
Yeah, because with an increase in people and importance, also the ecology is getting hampered with. The river is, like you said, we're abusing the river.
Yeah, see, now a large number of people will take part in the river.
Yeah.
So the river flow should be maintained. The cleanliness around the banks should be maintained. The purity of the water needs to be maintained. Otherwise, it will cause a lot of infections and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that the government is aware of all this. The city administration is not new to Kumbh Mela. They have been hosting the Kumbh Mela for so long. So they know that how to keep the water flowing. Fortunately, we have the Gangapur Dam and we can release, it's full. We have had good rain, so it is quite full, and we can release that water during those Parvani days, and that can be maintained. But this is not only the responsibility of the city administration.
Right.
It is equally a responsibility of each and every person, whether it is a localite or someone coming from outside, to maintain the cleanliness, the sacredness and the piousness of this Kumbh Mela.
Right.
So if I want to eat a banana and I want to throw the skin on the road, then I'm not contributing positively to the Kumbh Mela.
Yeah.
This kind of a feeling should be there.
Yeah. So how do you think that the media's portrayal of Nasik, its river, and the Kumbh has influenced the public understanding of what's happening, and like locally and beyond? What role?
See, media, one is the traditional media and the other is the social media. The traditional media, of course, has a lot of responsibility when it is portraying the Kumbh Mela. I've been a part of it for the last 34-35 years. And we have a larger sense of portraying how it actually is. Because when you say it is news, it's of course sacred and it stands on its 5 or 8 principles and values. So you cannot report the Kumbh Mela because you think it is so and so. You have to report as to what is actually happening. Sometimes it is good and sometimes it is not so good. But being a media and being the 4th pillar of democracy, you have to stick to the sacred values. And I would like to believe that everybody does that when it comes to the traditional media. Social media is something which is not in our hands. Social media is something that it's opinionated. It is, it can show whatever a person feels like showing, and therefore it will have many perspectives. Till about a few years back, social media was not there, and we had to stick to the traditional media for whatever is happening. The TV also came in around. I know that in 1991, we didn't have so much of news channels. But in 14-15, we saw a lot of influx of news channels, and we saw people standing by the river and saying that we are reporting live, and we had all those vans and everything coming in. And now we see this Kumbh Mela where you're going to see a lot of drones and you're going to see a lot of influencers and a lot of social media. I'm not saying all of them are doing a wrong job. They're trying to do their best. But of course, there will be perspectives. And in a manner of how you will portray the Kumbh Mela. So like I'll tell you that in one of the Kumbh Melas, every time we recollect that there was a stampede in Nashik. So we were around the banks, and the moment we came to know about the stampede, all of us rushed. We were mostly we were newspaper reporters who were around the banks, and we rushed and we actually saw the site, and then some of us rushed to the hospital, the civil hospital, to see that how they were being treated and what, you know, we had to split our teams to see how the law and order is, what other people were doing and how the things is being managed. At the same time, we had a responsibility to put a sense across that there is a stampede, there is of course something, a mishap has happened, but the whole event is not collapsed. You know, that was the responsibility of the media, to put it in right perspective, that this is being taken care of, but the rest of the part is still going on. So I very consciously remember me telling my team that how this is to be looked at. We don't deny that there is a stampede, we don't deny that there is a chaos at the civil hospital and everything is being dealt with, but at the same time we don't deny that there are people coming in and taking bath and going back safely. So this is the balance that you have to strike when you are doing the print kind of a journalism, where I have worked largely. But today it's a choice of what I want to focus, and I'm looking forward to how this Kumbh Mela is going to be covered.
Right. Especially now, since every person with a smartphone is a voice. Is a source of information on what is happening.
It's not only the journalist, a common man has become a communicator.
Right.
He's a storyteller.
Right.
So he will show whatever he wants to see or she wants to see.
Right.
So I don't think we have a larger control on that.
But do you think because of this, the larger access, that who can be a part of the story, has increased in terms of...
Yes, it has increased, because that's what we saw in Prayagraj. That because it was all over the phone, everybody's phone, and it was all over the internet. It drew a lot of attention, and people in lakhs poured on to Prayagraj. That will happen, but we have to remember that the landscape of Kumbh Mela in Prayagraj and the landscape of Kumbh Mela in Nashik is very different. So Prayagraj is a whole city, Kumbh city, which is established or formed for that purpose. And in Nashik, the paths leading to the Ramkund or the river are very narrow. And this has been the concern every time. This is not new to Nashik, it's not new to the administration. It is not new to the people who are handling the Kumbh Mela. And they plan accordingly. Trambakeshwar is still narrow, because we have our Kumbh Mela in two parts, in Nashik and Trambakeshwar. And Trambakeshwar has more number of akhadas and very narrow lanes and large number of people. So handling of the Kumbh Mela in Trambakeshwar is still a different game. So every place has its own way of handling the Kumbh Mela, and people there, whether they are traditional families who are a part of the Kumbh Mela, or whether it's the administration, they know about it, and I'm sure they will plan likewise. At least I hope that there will not be any mishap, even with the increasing numbers coming in.
Yeah. As someone from a family that runs a temple on the river, how do you negotiate between what is sacred and what is secular in your own experience with the Kumbh?
Sacred, I think, is the river. The purity of the river, the water that it provides, the science of the river, that is very sacred. Secular is the part where a large number of people from all faiths come into it, and nobody is denied access. The river takes in everybody. And I'll tell you one thing about Nashik particularly. I've seen this as I've grown up here, that in Nashik, any festival of any religion, any faith, any community, whatever the processions start, anywhere in the part of the city, they all culminate on the river banks. Whether it is the tableaus of the Muharram, whether it is the procession of the Guru Nanak Dev, whether it's the Chhat Puja, whether it is the Palki of the Tilbhandeshwar or Kapaleshwar, whether it is, you talk of any religion, any faith, whatever processions that are taken out, they all culminate on the river bank. The river is so secular that it accommodates everybody. Who are we to differentiate?
Right. What do you think Nashik as a city should remember or not forget about the river and its rituals as it prepares for the 27 Kumbh? Like something that the people should carry within them.
I think the respect for the river, that is very essential. We have really tampered so much with the river itself, with the banks, where we have, distorted the whole ghats. We have rebuilt them in concrete, which I'm really saddened about, because that doesn't help the river. And the kind of treatment that we are giving the river, I would want to, emphasize that while we are preparing for the Kumbh Mela and we are accommodating so many people and we are welcoming all of them, I only very earnestly hope that that small value of treasuring or protecting, cherishing the value of the river stays with them.
Right.
Whether it is protecting the ghats, whether it is deconcretizing the river bed, whether it is not allowing the sewage to go into the river, whether it is not washing your clothes into the river. There are traditions, there are ways in which people bathe and they throw away their clothes there in which they have bathed and walk out. You can see that. Though the administration tries to take care of this, but I think people also need to change in their sentiments about the ways in which they are interacting with the river. If it is your faith that you want to throw away the clothes, you can carry it and dump it in a place where it is meant to be, not leave it on the banks for others to play around with it. And I just feel that the purity of the river, the flow of the river, Godavari is a perennial river. We don't have the expanse of the ghat here, the width of the river here, because it originates. It's always going to be small and it's going to not have a very fast, rapid flow. It's have to have a perennial, small flow, more so with the dam which we have built. But I would wish that the river that I have seen in my childhood, which is a flowing river, which is a very laughing river, which is a very river which welcomes you and accommodates you every time, it still remains the same, because that is the ethos of Nashik, that is the focus of Nashik, and that is the reason for Nashik. And I truly, genuinely want to believe that it is preserved.
You speak about inheriting the river through family rituals and temple life. How do you think this kind of inheritance is changing for the younger generations of Nashik? Like, are there any practices?
I'll tell you one ritual which we followed in our temple. When I was a kid of maybe 4 or 5 years of age, my grandfather was there and he used to take care of the temple. So in the morning early, there were people who would go to the river, take a bath, wear a fresh set of clothes, and carry the water in pots which would be used during the puja for the temple idols or the gods here. And that was brought in fresh every day in pots which they carried from the river. Within a few years, my grandfather and my father very consciously had to stop this ritual because the water is not clean anymore. So the compromise we felt was the water which we get at the tap is at least purified, it is clean, and it's the same water of the Godavari, so let us use the tap water. So this was a major shift in a ritual. It was a conscious shift, but the shift had to be made because the water is in the river is not clean.
Right. And you've mentioned how through your programs and camps you try to get people to connect with the city, the younger generation.
Yeah.
So do you think there are any memories that people can now make with the river who are not from its immediate context that will
I'll
connect
tell you,
them?
I think I've mentioned this on Sir Pedia also, and I'll tell you one particular incident. When I was taking children around, they were about 45-50 children. And I was telling them, I was talking about the river, and I was telling them why not to throw the nirmalya, why not to throw photo frames, why not to throw food, the stale food into the river and all that. Then they said that, then where do people collect all this? And I showed them, because that time we used to have these big pots, which were kind of a nirmalya collection pots. And I told them, this is where you put it, and the corporation will take it and process it to convert it into a manure, so it will be used properly. And while we were walking on the banks, the door of this pot was opened, and we realized that people had thrown in stale food also, which the dogs were trying to tear out. So this was a contrast to what I was telling them and what actually the children were seeing. Obviously, at the age of 10, 12, 15, you have a lot of questions, you are very curious. And I never stopped my children from asking questions. So they were very confident in asking. So they asked me, Kitai, you are telling us that this should not carry food, but see, there is food into it, and the dogs are tearing into it. I couldn't deny, because that was the reality we were facing. But then I tried to encourage them that, see, if somebody has done it, that doesn't mean that we should do it. Then they had questions that where this manure is made. Show us where it is made. How will you say the corporation will take it. How will the corporation take it? Then they said that you told us not to wash clothes. Then why is that lady washing some clothes here? Why is the rickshaw going into the water? And at one point of time, I said, you have too many questions, and I actually don't have the right answers to this. Then they asked me, who will have the right answers? So I told them the mayor of the city. He is the person who has the answers for us. And they said that take us to him and we will ask him questions. Me being a journalist, I called up the mayor and I told him, sir, my children have some genuine questions. Would you please answer them? He said, yeah, I will answer them, but you don't get into our conversation. I said, fine. I will be just a silent observer. It's between you and the children. And the kind of questions they asked, if children can ask such kind of questions of why this is so, why not, how come, why can't you control it, why don't you do it? And at one point of time, even he didn't have any answers. There were limitations to that. And he was also amazed. So he said, let us call the media. And I said, don't call the media, because though I, being a journalist, I am not doing this for publicity. I really want to make an impact on the children, and I think we need to answer their questions properly. He said, these children have questions which actually the elders should have in their mind. Today, when we just throw something across in a plastic bag, even if it is nirmalya, we put it in a plastic bag, tie a knot to it and throw it across the bridge. Right. Somewhere we are trying to tell our mind that it is organic and the river will take care of it, whereas we forget that it is tied in a plastic bag and it's not organic. So unless these questions come up into everybody's mind, every citizen's mind who's interacting with the river, I don't think we will be able to change the situation. I'm happy about the efforts that are being made. Most of the media is making an effort. There are people, there are activists, there are schools. Even schools are doing their bit. They bring children for a cleanliness drive. Though I personally believe that a cleanliness drive done on one day will not help the river. But at least I hope that it will be in the minds of the children and it will carry some message for them. So they are also welcome. So everybody has to make an effort, for this to change.
Do you remember what was the state of the city once the Kumbh got over last time? How did the city get back on its feet? Did it have to get back on its feet?
The day before the Parvani and after the Parvani, we were not able to open our gates because a lot of people had shit there on the road in all the lanes, and we had to clean it with water because otherwise we would not have been able to go out. People were not allowed on the banks, so they resorted to all small lanes. And if you know about Nashik, Nashik is a city of small lanes. असं मराठीत म्हणतो की नाशिक हे गल्ली बोळांचं शहर आहे आणि प्रत्येक गल्ली बोळात लोक राहत होते, झोपत होते. every pavement, on every near every shop or outside a vada, people just slept on the road because they wanted to reach the river first early in the morning, and there were no arrangements made for them, hygiene arrangements, and they didn't care. It was not their city. They didn't care. They used wherever and however they wanted to. So this is very distinctly remembered, and all of us in this area faced the same problem. So even this time when there were elections and corporators, all the people who were contesting the elections, all of us tried to tell them the same thing, that this is the fear that we have, that all our lanes and small roads leading to the river, we need to take care. We don't mind people sleeping because the city is to accommodate so many people, but we need to make arrangements for their hygiene. Because everybody would want to go and pee somewhere, and everybody want to go and use the toilet somewhere. So we will have to make arrangements everywhere, and we hope that as elected corporators, you would take care of at least of this area. All of them would take care of these basic things, because otherwise it will spread a lot of unhygienic conditions and diseases. So though the Kumbh Mela and people are welcome, you need to take care of the people in the city as well.
Right.
So I just want to tell the corporation, tell the administration that these are small things. You may make big arrangements at wherever the big places you will do, but these small places should not be neglected as well.
Yeah, so there are so many ways in which locals get affected.
Absolutely.
Because it's not like a one-day event.
See, there will be at least 3 to 4 parvanis, wherein on one given day there will be so much of influx. A day before and a day after, till the time they disperse from the city.
Right. Do you see any measures being taken for accommodating these services, like basic hygiene, now that you are...
On paper, yes.
On paper, yes. So
we'll have to wait and see how it works out.
Right. What do you... how does the river feel between these major festivals, like when the crowds and the attention is gone, when the city has the river to itself? What is it
I'm
like?
sure the river is also very happy, was able to express herself. She's always happy about having people around her. That's what I want to believe. But after the whole euphoria has died down, then we are back again to using the river and not respecting it.
Right.
That should not happen. Yeah. The river doesn't mind her being used, but she deserves the respect as well.
Right. So I would like to thank you for this interview. You've answered all of my questions very beautifully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wish you all the best with your project, and I hope that this project also makes a very valuable input to the Kumbh Mela, which is we are going to see in a short time. Yes. And I just want everybody to please play a little small amount of respect to the river, to protect its biodiversity, its ecosystem and its ecology. Thank you so much.
Thank you.